Welcome to this explainer. We're diving right into ancient Syracuse today to unravel the legend behind, honestly, the most famous bath in human history. We've all heard the phrase, but why exactly did Archimedes shout Eureka? Well, it's a story of royal suspicion, profound scientific discovery, and yeah, a completely naked sprint through city streets. But as you're gonna see, that legendary bathtub moment was really just the opening act for a mind that literally shaped the modern world, so let's jump in.
To get why he shouted Eureka, we first have to understand this high-stakes puzzle he was handed. King Hero II of Syracuse had a bit of a problem. He had given a goldsmith a very specific weight of pure gold to create this stunning votive crown. But when the crown was finally delivered, the king got suspicious. Like, did this craftsman pocket some of the gold and swap in cheaper silver? So the king hands this problem to Archimedes with one massive catch. Figure out if the crown is pure gold, but absolutely do not damage or melt it down to find out.
So how do you solve an impossible puzzle like that? Well, Archimedes was turning the problem over and over in his head when he went to take a bath. And as he steps into the tub, he notices the water level rising and spilling over the edges. And boom, it hits him. The water was being displaced by a volume exactly equal to the submerged portion of his body. He realized that because gold is much denser than silver, a crown made of pure gold would take up less space and therefore displace less water than a silver alloy crown of the exact same weight.
He was so overjoyed by this brilliant epiphany, the guy didn't even bother to grab a towel. He literally leaps out of the bath and runs completely naked through the streets of Syracuse, shouting, "Eureka, Eureka," which is Greek for "I have found it." It's just such a historically hilarious image, right? The greatest thinker of antiquity, so absolutely thrilled by a geometric and physical realization that all social norms just vanished in an instant. But this famous, funny anecdote actually produced some seriously groundbreaking science. That bathtub incident led directly to what we now call Archimedes' principle. It basically states that any object, wholly or partially immersed in a fluid, is buoyed up by a force equal to the weight of the fluid displaced by the object. He literally founded the science of hydrostatics right there in the tub. It gave humanity its very first true mathematical understanding of buoyancy. Section 1. A mind for mathematics. So after studying as a young man in Alexandria, Egypt, which was the intellectual capital of the Hellenistic world, Archimedes returned to Syracuse and just started pushing the absolute boundaries of what was mathematically possible. For example, he wanted to find the exact value of pi. Now, without modern algebra or decimals, he had to use geometry, so he inscribed and circumscribed regular polygons around a circle. He started with hexagons and worked his way all the way up to these incredibly complex 96-sided polygons. He physically calculated the perimeter of these shapes to trap the circle's circumference between an upper and a lower limit. Using only these ancient geometric techniques, his 96-sided polygons proved that pi had to be between 3 and 10^71 and 3 and 1/7. To put that into modern decimal terms for you, that's between 3.1408 and 3.1429, which is astonishingly close to the true value of pi. I mean, this level of precision, calculated completely manually over 2,000 years ago, it's just mind-blowing. But he didn't stop there. With his method of exhaustion, Archimedes used infinite geometric series to calculate the areas and volumes bounded by curves, like the area under a parabola. And if that sounds familiar, it's because it's a direct precursor to modern integral calculus. He was laying the mathematical groundwork for concepts that wouldn't be fully formalized until Isaac Newton and Gottfried Leibniz came along nearly 2 millennia later.
Section 2. Engineering marvels and weapons of war.
You know, Archimedes was just as adept at physical engineering as he was at theoretical math. Take the Archimedes screw, for example. It's this rotating helical screw inside a hollow cylinder, and it was originally designed to lift water from lower levels to higher ground. It is so brilliant and effective that it is still widely used in modern irrigation and wastewater management today. Then you have his compound pulley systems, which allowed a single person to lift massive weights. He famously proved this by dragging a fully loaded royal ship onto dry land all by himself. Oh, and he even built a mechanical bronze planetarium that accurately simulated the motions of the sun, moon, and planets. His work with pulleys and levers basically formalized the mathematical principles of statics and mechanical advantage, and his absolute confidence in his own physics led to this legendary claim. He said, "Give me a lever long enough and a fulcrum on which to place it, and I shall move the world." He wasn't even exaggerating. He literally had the math to prove it.
But all those engineering skills were soon put to a terrifying test. In 2014 BC, during the Second Punic War, the massive Roman army, led by General Marcellus, laid siege to Syracuse. Archimedes was around 70 years old at this time, but instead of hiding, this elderly mathematician was drafted into military service and basically became Syracuse's ultimate weapon. For 2 full years, he almost single-handedly held the Roman military forces at bay.
So, how exactly does a 70-year-old mathematician hold off the entire Roman army? By building absolute mechanical nightmares. He designed the Claw of Archimedes, which was this giant crane with a grappling hook that literally reached down, lifted Roman warships right out of the water, and smashed them against the rocks. He built adjustable range catapults that showered the Roman fleet with heavy stones at varying distances. There's even the legend of the heat ray, where he supposedly used a polished array of bronze shields to focus sunlight onto Roman ships, setting them ablaze. Whether that one is perfectly true or not, his mechanical weapons absolutely terrorized the Roman fleet.
Section 3. Do not disturb my circles.
Despite his incredible defense, after 2 years of frustration, Roman soldiers finally exploited a lapse in the city's defenses during an evening festival dedicated to the goddess Artemis. Syracuse was breached. The Roman general Marcellus fully recognized the terrifying genius of the man who had been sinking his ships, and he issued strict orders: capture Archimedes alive and completely unharmed. He wanted history's greatest mind protected and brought straight to him. But amidst all the chaos of the invasion, a Roman soldier bursts into Archimedes' home. The elderly mathematician wasn't fleeing. Actually, he was entirely absorbed in studying a geometric diagram he'd drawn in the sand on his floor. When the soldier ordered him to come to Marcellus, Archimedes refused, insisting he just had to finish his proof first. His defiant last words, according to legend, were, "Noli turbare tricolos meos," "Do not disturb my circles." Enraged, the soldier drew his sword and struck him down.
Section 4. An enduring scientific legacy.
Archimedes' sudden death completely devastated General Marcellus, who actually arranged a grand burial for him. But while the man died in 212 BC, his monumental discoveries survived the ages to shape our modern world. Over a century later, in 75 BC, the famous Roman orator Cicero actually tracked down Archimedes' neglected tomb, identifying it by the sphere and cylinder carved on it, and had it restored. During the Renaissance, preserved manuscripts of his work were translated, directly inspiring scientists like Galileo, who relied on his hydrostatics to formulate the laws of falling bodies. Isaac Newton built directly on his geometric methods to invent modern calculus. Today, his towering influence is honored right on the Fields Medal, the highest award in mathematics, which proudly features his profile.
And, there were even more secrets waiting to be found. In a stunning 1906 discovery known as the Archimedes Palimpsest, a researcher found a 10th century prayer book where the prayers had been written over erased, much older text. Using modern imaging, they reveal that the erased text contained previously unknown treatises by Archimedes. This lost manuscript proved he was using advanced concept models of gravity and calculus millennia ahead of his time.
All of this leaves us with a pretty profound question. If Archimedes was already grasping the foundations of calculus 2,000 years before Isaac Newton, where would science and human progress be today if that Roman soldier had simply listened and spared his life? The amount of progress lost to the tip of a sword in that one moment is just staggering to think about. It really makes you realize how fragile and how incredibly precious the spark of human genius really is. Thank you for joining me on this explainer. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.